All right, so finally, let's start with the installation. In this video, we are going to see how we can install Jenkins on AWS. Okay, the prerequisite for this specific video is you should have one free tier account from AWS. Okay, if you don't have one, you can create a new account on AWS and then you can start follow along with this video. Okay, if you don't know how to create a new free tier account, okay, I'll just pin a video in the description and in the I button. You can go there and check how you can create a new account. Okay. Now, considering you already have one account which is ready for the installation, let's get started with the installation itself. Now, following for this specific video, I have created one repository where all the things, all the commands which I will be running will be provided over here. Okay. Now, I am recording this video on September 2025. So, in this specific point, this is the latest version because all the documentation has been added recently. But in future, I want you to use the documentation itself. I will also show you how you can actually leverage the documentation because whatever latest will be there will be provided in the documentation itself. Okay, so let us first install Jenkins. So for that, what we need is we will need one EC2 instance. Okay, so let us go here in the search bar and search for EC2 Elastic Cloud Compute, which is a virtual server in AWS. Okay, now here let us click on launch instance. Here we are going to create one AWS virtual server. So let us name it as Jenkins server. Okay, and here we are going to select Ubuntu as the base operating system. Let me go down, and here we have multiple options whether to take T3 micro, T3 small. You can proceed with the T3 micro itself. Okay, if you have the option for T2 micro, you can proceed with that one itself. Now here we have a key pair. So what key pair is actually doing here? Key pair is used for authentication. Okay, so we are going to do one SSH from our terminal to the VM. Okay, so here I'll write Jenkins key. Okay, so this will be the name of the key. All right, and then let's click on create key pair. Now here what it will do, it will download the PEM file. Okay, the PEM file will be used for the authentication itself. If you scroll down here, you have multiple options. So here you need to enable the SSH traffic, and let me just allow the HTTP and HTTPS traffic as well at the same time. Here it is asking about configuration of storage. Okay, you can just increase the storage if you want to. Okay, let's make it as 15 with GP3 root volume. And if you want to add a new volume, you can proceed with that as well. But for now, I think we are good. We should be good to start with this one. So click on launch instance. Okay. So here what it will do, it will create the security group, it will initiate the VM, and once everything is ready, then we should be able to do the SSH. Now I'll go to instance back again, and meantime, once it is ready, we are going to start with the SSH itself. Right now the status check is in initialize, so let us wait for some time. Okay. Meantime, I want you to go to the Jenkins repository which I have created. The link will be added in the description. So here in the directory one hyphen installation, you'll find one README file where all the information is readed. Okay, so far whatever we have covered, like what is Jenkins, what is CI/CD, all those basic things has been written over here. Okay, so you can just go along with this. All the notes are present over here, and then post that whatever is required for this specific one is already provided, right? So basically, how you should run Jenkins. Now we are already aware that Jenkins run on Java. So the prerequisite for running Jenkins is you need to have Java installed on your system. Okay. So what I'm going to do is let me just do a refresh. Our instance should be ready by this time. So it is taking some time. So let us wait. Once it is ready, then we'll proceed forward with the installation. Okay. So here we have two options. When you click on connect, there are two sort of options that you can connect with the VM to. So first is you can directly connect the VM with the browser, or second you can do the SSH. Now since we have downloaded the key file, let me click on this SSH key, and here in the terminal I'll just write sudo SSH Jenkins pem dot this file. Here it is asking for my permission. I'll give it, and then here it is saying, do you want to continue connecting? Yes, definitely I want to connect to the EC2 instance, and then it will connect to the VM. Now here you can see the Jenkins is connect or SSH connection is done. Okay, it is success. Now the next thing is, let me just clear the screen. Okay, and let me enter as a sudo user. So sudo su clear. Now, let us refer the documentation which I have provided. So here there are two commands that we need to run. First is, in order to run the Jenkins, you need to install OpenJDK. Okay, that is Java runtime environment. So for that, first of all, you need to update the system. So just write apt update. Okay. Now, meantime, it is updating. There is one more thing that I wanted to tell you, that whenever you are installing any sort of software on Ubuntu, okay, the first thing that you need to do is it should update the application manager, right? The package manager itself. Why? Because there are few dependency files which will be needed to run that specific package that you want to install, right? So the first best practice is to update the system. Now, once the system update is done, then we are going to install the Java runtime environment. Okay. Now package updation done. Now let us install the Java runtime environment. Now whatever packages are required for it to run, all things will be downloaded. Now it will go to the package manager. It will search for the Java runtime environment for version 17. And then based on all the dependency which are met, it will prepare and unpack, and then things will be present in your system. Now, once a package has been installed, how do we validate it? That thing also we are going to cover. So basically, let's say we are installing Java this time, so it would be Java hyphen hyphen version. So that is how we are able to check whether the system is been whether the system has actually installed this runtime environment or not. So let us first verify whether Java is installed or not. So Java hyphen hyphen version. And here you can see OpenJDK 7 is installed, and here you can see the runtime is present over here. All right. All right. So here you can see that Java runtime environment is installed. All right. So the next thing that we want to do is we validated whether the Java is installed or not, and we got the output similar like this. Okay. Now the next thing is Jenkins provide a long-term support release. Okay, which release after every 12 weeks. So you can choose from the stable releases, and this is one of the stable release that you can look up to. Okay, so just copy this and paste it over here. I'll explain what we are actually doing over here. Okay, we are installing a stable version of Jenkins, which is released every 12 weeks. Okay, now once these things are done, Jenkins will be installed in our system, and then we can proceed forward with the configuration. Okay, now if you come back to this command, what actually it is doing, it is first adding the Jenkins repository key. Okay, and then what it is doing, it is adding the Jenkins to the system. Okay, here the key has been added, and the last thing, again I said, even if you want to install a single package, the first thing that you need to do is update the system. So it is again updating the system, and then it is going to install the package files. Okay, that is Jenkins. Now Jenkins install. Now let us validate whether Jenkins actually got installed or not by running systemctl status Jenkins. So this will actually tell you what is the current status. Okay, whether it is active, whether it is inactive. So those status can be tracked from here. When you want to validate whether Jenkins, what is the current version of Jenkins? So Jenkins hyphen hyphen version. So this should do the job, and it will tell you what is the current version of Jenkins which is installed. So that is 2.5.16.2. Okay, so this is the version which is installed. So Jenkins installed. Now, where do I see Jenkins running? Okay, so here we have two options to start and enable Jenkins. Okay, so systemctl start Jenkins to start the service, which is already start, and then second is to enable the service. All right. Now again, if you run the status command, you can actually validate whether it is up and running or not. So actually it is up and running, and we are good to start with Jenkins now. Okay, now the next thing is you need to go to the instance. Okay, now here go to the instances section, and here copy the public IP. Now, before even doing that, we should be aware of one thing, that Jenkins runs on port number 8080. So, did we expose the port number 8080? No. So, we need to go to security, and under we have one security group. We need to just manually tell him that there is a port number 8080 that we need to expose to, because we would be clicking over there, right? So here, just write port number 8080. Okay, and here the traffic can come from anywhere, and that's why we are going to click on anywhere. And then once it is ready, the security group is updated, which actually will tell AWS that okay, you have to listen to port number 8080 where the user will click to. Okay, and then you should be able to provide with the dashboard. Now here what I'm going to do is https colon slash slash, I'll provide the public IP which I copied, followed by a colon, and followed by the port number 8080. Okay, now what it will do, it will show you a GUI, okay, where it will ask you to ask you for a password, okay, and the path will also be given. So here, what it is asking to ensure Jenkins for setup, okay, there is this file where the password is been stored. Just copy that password from your terminal and paste it over here. So basically, that is the admin password that is required for the very first time. Go back to terminal, okay, clear the screen and just click on right and just type cat. Cat is used for reading a file. And again, since it is a file, there is a password which is currently stored over here. So copy this password and paste it over admin password. Now click on continue. Now it will ask you for one more thing. Okay, whether you want to install the suggested plugin or whether you want to go with the selected plugins. Right now, we want to go with the manual way. We don't want to select a plugin one by one directly. We want Jenkins to install the suggested plugin by itself. So just click on install suggested plugin. Now, what it will do, whatever plugins which are required for Jenkins to run to in order to operate, it will install all the plugins, okay, at the same time. So here it actually install these plugins which you can see over the screen. Okay, and once all the plugins are installed, then we should be good to go with it. Here, then it will ask us to create one user, which would be an admin user, and then we should be good to go and start with Jenkins journey. So let me just type my username. Password would be password. Okay, and here just write the full name and just write a temp mail for now. Okay, and then click on save and continue. Now, what you have done, you have created a user, okay, and then it has the admin access, and then it is showing that Jenkins is ready. And in the previous screen, it showed that if you want to access Jenkins, then you can just enter that URL, and then you should be good to go. Okay, so that is how we install Jenkins, and this is how the GUI of the new Jenkins look like. Okay, we are currently on Jenkins version 2.516.2. Okay, so here you can see. Now, coming up, so this was something that we referred my documentation, and you might be wondering, okay, Shubham, now let's say if I am watching this video 1 or 2 years after you published it, so scenario might be changed, and definitely that is a correct question. So for that, what you have to do is every time just go Jenkins install Ubuntu, you will find the first link. Okay, here you will get updated version every time. Here, let's see whatever version I installed right now, it is a long-term support that would be released that will get refreshed after every 12 weeks. But if you are someone who is watching this video after 2 or 3 years, then the version might get changed. Okay, at that time, the version that I am recording right now and the version that you would be referring will be very different. So for that, just go to this documentation, and here you'll find the wonderful documentation written by the people who are maintaining Jenkins. Now, since we are dealing Jenkins in Linux, so click on Linux. Okay, now there are multiple flavors that Jenkins support. Now it is Debian, Fedora, or Red Hat. So since we are installing on Ubuntu, click on Debian Ubuntu. And here there is one more video which is provided by CloudBees. Okay, there the person has already told you how the Jenkins can be installed. Okay, but if you don't want to follow the video, you can definitely go through the documentation, and the documentation is really very wonderful. It will help you to install Jenkins in low time. Okay, but just one heads up that before even directly copy and pasting the command, just first thing to remember is before even running this command for long term or weekly releases, just first install the OpenJDK. Okay, so scroll all the way to the down and install this version. Okay, here they are using Java runtime error of JDK 21. In my case, we have installed JDK 17. Okay, so this thing is something that you have to take care of. Now, once the system is updated, once you have installed the Java runtime environment, update the system once again. So your package will get refreshed again, and then come back again to upwards. And here, whether you want to install a weekly release or whether you want to go with the long-term support, I recommend to go with the long-term support because that is the stable version that is being tested by the developers. So then copy this command, paste it, and the step remains the same. Then you have to go to security groups. Okay, under security groups, go back to inbound rules, add port number 8080, and allow the source from anywhere so that Jenkins can listen the request from anywhere. And then Once it is done, copy the password by using the get command, copy this value and then paste it over there, create a user, go with the recommended plugins, and then you will be landed over the screen. Okay, so that was all about installation of Jenkins, and I hope you were able to follow along with the video. If you faced any issue, just drop down your issues in the comment section. I'll just go through it and then definitely help you out with that. Just one recommendation from my end is, before even starting with the installation itself, before even going through my repository, I want you to go to the actual documentation, because my repository, whatever I have added the data, it is coming through this specific documentation itself. Okay, so the first thing that you have to do is just refer the documentation. If you find that something is difficult, then come back to my repository, just read everything. I have written everything whatever is required for you to understand for the from installation perspective. Okay, and in this specific playlist itself, we are going to follow this same repository. All the application will be provided here itself. Okay, so no need to worry, everything will be provided here only, and then you should be good to go with the setup and the further more things as well. Okay, so that was all about Jenkins installation. I hope you were able to install Jenkins. In the next video, we are going to see how and what are things which are currently present in the dashboard. So next video will be specific to exploration on the dashboard, what actually things which are currently present on the screen and what is the actual meaning of it. Okay, so those things we are going to cover in the next video. So yeah, that was all, and I will see you in the next one.